So today I thought we'd do something a little bit different. I'm still going to be speaking about the science of ascension, but I wanted to pair it with this concept that has been with me for a very long time. It's a concept that I've created myself, so it's going to be a bit more intuitive based than the previous videos. And I'm still going to be dropping some links in the description of this, or the little information box, in case you wanted to further read kind of where this was inspired from. I said something to an old friend of mine in a conversation the other day, and I think it might help, so I'm going to share it with you as well. And that is that consciousness operates through the intelligence of infinity's awareness. So consciousness being the kind of system that is birthed into this physical form or the material sector. And we are actually born with all of the answers that we need, but it takes time for the awareness of what questions need to be asked in order for that consciousness to grow or to develop. And it's the awareness that is bringing that kind of malleability to that energy. And as I said in one of my previous videos, it's almost like consciousness is limited, but the awareness of what we're conscious of can actually shift and change multiple times within one lifetime. And that's that kind of death and rebirth from the Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. So this video is going to lead on from that, and it's going to take some very similar concepts that will just kind of layer on top of that. In the last videos, we was introducing the chakra system, and I've got this chakra system now on this board, and I'm going to be going through it, going over where that stems from and where it goes to. So the material sector being where we are, this very physical incarnation, where our consciousness is birthed into an existence. Being part of nature, we have a North Pole and a South Pole. So the North Pole being the crown chakra, which is depicted here, and the South Pole being the root chakra, which is located at the base of your spine. The energetic form rises up the backbone of the physical form to become the kind of energetic backbone of the chakra system. So I'm going to go over what each of these chakras are first, and give you a little bit about them and how they work and what they're for. And then I'm going to dissect them a little bit more so that you can fully understand or take it to that next step. So this first root chakra is the survival-based instinct, and the instinct is innate as to how we deal with situations in that survival mode. And that's all to do with safety. Safety of, am I safe in this situation, implies to this first root chakra. And all energy from the external that comes internal is all hitting that root chakra first. So this is kind of like the first point that gets cleared. And if that chakra is open, then the energy can move up. And they all have colour respondence to them. So the red ray chakra is the root chakra. The next chakra is the sacral chakra. And there's a load of really good information about this chakra. But the way that I'm going to describe it is, the first chakra is, for instance, a newborn baby comes out and it's experiences the first thing for the first time, and it automatically hits that, am I safe? And once it hits that chakra and goes up to that next chakra, it's almost like asking, am I safe? And then having that kind of space to realise who it is that you're asking that to. So that's that kind of self-realisation of, who is it that I am? What is my energy? What does it mean about me? On a very internal level. Once the energy of that is okayed, then it opens up and it goes to the next chakra, which is the solar plexus chakra. And this chakra is related to discernment, which ties in really nicely with the fact that it's the first chakra that kind of has that outward flow of recognition of another. And this is kind of where that ego development stage starts to happen, because that's where the mind begins to compare with another and interact with another. There's brain cells inside the gut because of that discernment chakra. That discernment chakra is the intuition training that comes with this energetic system. When that energy is able to travel up from the, I am safe, I am creating my own reality, and to discern what it is that the other is asking of you, or that relationship element that brings, then that opens up to the heart center, and that is the heart chakra. And it's also in Law of One depicted as the first step into the fourth density, when you have an open heart chakra, where we're fully able to create a relationship with another. So the solar plexus chakra, the difference between the two, the solar plexus chakra is more so to do with, how does that external relationship relate to me? Very kind of egotistical version of the heart chakra, where it goes out again and it releases that attachment issue. And it detaches to love. And I'll come back to that in a bit. The fifth chakra, being able to be authentic and express your authenticity based off of the energy that you have traveling through you, and not necessarily what the brain is telling you. So when that is okayed, then it goes up to the 6th chakra, which is unity. The unity of being able to see others as yourself in that all-encompassing, all-seeing eye type of version of the very physical eyes. And this is located in the pineal gland inside the brain. So when all of those are okayed and the third eye is seeing in unity, then the crown chakra opens up, and that's located at the top of your head. And that is where you begin to kind of understand how it all connects back to that source point. So now I'm going to move down here again and speak a little bit about this mind, body and spirit agreement that we all share. But first I wanted to share something that can really help with the perception of this. So we're often trained to see ourselves as special and to seek out what it is that makes us special in that comparison mode to another. The idea of specialness itself is actually, when you think about it, a very egotistical concept, because in order to be special, it means that you are comparing yourself to another who lacks, and that's a very in-separation concept to hold within you. What I realised is that there's not anything necessarily special about me at all. It's just the essence of the one or the absolute experiencing itself through this unique expression. And that realisation opens up a lot and takes away a lot of the kind of self-made responsibility in the need to feel that difference. We are all unique, so we are all naturally gifted in different ways, but it doesn't necessarily make us better or lesser than each other. It's just as simple as an expression. So here I've got that unique expression depicted as that kind of soul seed, and that soul seed is actually just above and in between the solar plexus and the heart chakra. It's kind of like an energetic umbilical cord that ties you back to the absolute. And I'm going to go a little bit further into what that means if you're open to it. But first I'm just going to go over a little bit as to what this kind of contractual agreement is, or what I mean by that. So now it's going to get a little bit esoteric, because I'm going to be bringing a lot of the Law of One's teachings in to kind of help explain what I mean by this. So the Law of One has some amazing seeds. It refers to the human, the very individualized expression, as a mind, body and spirit complex. And that is pretty much saying that your mind, your body and the spirit that is birthed into you or is guiding you is a complex structure that is built for this experience. And it's that soul that is experiencing that when you go beyond the surface layers of yourself. Carl Jung's map of the psyche in the last video, when you dip down into that subconscious brain, then you're actually dipping into the unknown elements of yourself. And that is where this mind, body, spirit complex ties in perfectly. So as you can see, I've put a little circle around it to depict the earth. And imagine a little visualization to help with this. Start to imagine that the world that is outside of you is actually inside of you, because it's experienced by you. Instead of taking meaning from the things that your mind are picking up from and telling you about that externalized world, try and sink the mind down into that heart space and just allow yourself to be the stillness in the sea of motion, because then you can flow freely in its current without losing one sense of self. And that sense of self is that kind of egoic structure that gets lost along in the motion of it when it isn't tied down or grounded into your being. Now, all of these different things here, so we've got the mind, the body and the spirit. So the body, think of as the three, and here I've got the kind of these lower chakras represented by the solar system. So that's your kind of soul family. So you've got the sun that is sending its vitality. Everything is light, and we depict what's going on externally through that light. That's why you can see me and I can see you, and there's a screen in front of you that we can both see. This is what's going on there. So without that kind of externalized reality of what's going on, then we've got nothing to compare to that interim. So this experience is all one system, even though it's very paradoxical in its nature. And its intention is to kind of shine its light so that you can become aware of what it is that you are in this sea of motion as an individual still point, and to find that grounded stillness to grow from and to evolve into. So this first circle is kind of like these 3 chakras merged into one. And then this little crossover section here is where you've gained enough of a stable foundation to find that individual point. So the ego is a brilliant thing to help you really quickly learn that self, gaining that recognition of what it is to be a self. If you aren't given that structure, then you're only operating with the persona, and the persona is where the ego isn't really developed. So the ego is a really powerful tool, and once you are able to awaken from that tool, then you're finding that point into that expansion of this next bubble, which is the heart center, or the heart chambers. Isn't it interesting how there's 4 heart chambers, and the law of one say that it's the entrance into 4th density. The input and the output, finding the balance of what those are, what it means to love oneself, and then what it means in return to love another as oneself. So that's where you have this kind of inward and this outward, oneself, and then guidance from a higher energetic version of you that is already inside of you, it's not outside of you. Being able to push that out for others to receive through that balance of self-love as well. The service to self is where you kind of don't have that outward flow of love. It's just all that kind of gathering of self-love. The service to others is where you balance both self-love by not needing to attach to anyone else's love, and then you're kind of becoming a reflector to help others love themselves as well. And I've put this in a bubble all on its own because it's kind of also connected to the nature element. We're being taught by nature what it is to love as a whole being rather than as a self or ego inside that bubble. And then I've also put these little infinity rings here because this is where that kind of service to self and service to other ebb and flow between itself and kind of recognize each other and still allow each other to be, rather than forcing each other to change or become one way or the other. And by the term lower and higher chakras, it doesn't actually imply that one is lesser than the other. And just as this pyramid here, the kind of grosser planes, grosser just meaning denser or more experiential, and then the higher planes being the more subtle nature. So imagine a whole pie. The bottom of that is kind of like that whole pie, and then the kind of top of that is taking a slice and being grateful for the pie that you got. So when the lesson of that is recognised, then it crosses over into this next section, which is the kind of higher chakras. And that's very much like the subtler planes. The subtler planes is where you're finding the authenticity of what it is that you are and being able to bring that as that individualised point to it be experienced again as that outward flowing, so like the upside down triangle now. So this is me. There you go. And from that one slice, you're able to build yourself an entire pie again. So in this bubble, we've got the wisdom, unity, and that understanding. Each section, think of like a sector as part of a whole. So for instance, a company, you have a kind of chain of command within a company, and it's the same with your energy. Your energy stems out of one point, one singularity point. Because of that non-linear nature of time, our choices that we're making in this now moment are affecting who it is that we are. So this brings me to the concept that I wanted to introduce in this video, and that is the pillar of creation. So imagine that all of this is one gigantic bubble. Once all of these are understood, it's understood as kind of different reference points of energy within your energy vessel. And each bubble harmonizes with the next. And all of them together create that kind of open lotus. The pillar of creation represents that stillness of allowing that energy to cycle through you rather than suppressing it or forcing it up. So when you're still within that sea of motion, then that's that pillar of creation, which is enabling our awareness to shape that reality of what we're conscious of. And that is that opportunity of expansion that we have contracted into this physical form to experience. And we expand and contract all the time by allowing that energy to cycle through us. And what needs to be released is often contracted into themes that keep cycling through the use of systems like karma. Karma is something that we carry internally, and it's reflected back to us through the nature of that sea of motion in our very physical experience, because not everything is made conscious. A lot of it is in that subconscious still. So it surfaces through these different systems to be recognised by us once our awareness is able to hold its consciousness for long enough to see that pattern emerge. And if we're able to be open enough inside that pillar of creation to kind of protect ourselves in a bubble, to be able to recognize it when it shows up or surfaces, and then we're given the opportunity to release it and overcome it, and then enter a new cycle. So the shadow work is like pushing a shadow towards you for your recognition, to be able to test you to see if you know or have them skills to be able to develop out of it and into a new healthier cycle, working to release that kundalini energy so that it can guide you through that motion without losing a sense of self that is grasping on from them senses to kind of attach to that motion, rather than allowing it to be flowing with it, feeling like part of it, rather than feeling a need to conquer it, control it, or attach to it. As you can see, I've got the kind of rainbow colours here, that self-reflection point, doing all the chakra work. We're overcoming from that emotional gratification of that need-based feeding of the senses, that sense of self that's got lost in the motion. And then you're kind of ebbing and flowing between the pineal of the receiving and the intuition as well. And then you're also having that open heart to release the unnecessary things as well. So all of this is connected as part of this experience. So now down here I've got the kind of eyeball, because once you're able to see through the kind of motion or that kind of very colourful experience, this sea of many, which is beautiful and very necessary, then you're able to awaken to the fact that all goes back to that same source point. And I'm going to be going over this a little bit more in my next video, but I just kind of wanted to get these concepts out there first. If you enjoyed this video, remember, give it one of them, go on. If you like these concepts and want more content, then subscribe, and remember to hit that notification bell so that you'll be notified when I do upload a video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it resonated and I hope it helped. I'll see you very soon.